Well, for starters, you have to be able to be heard through an orchestra of 100 into an auditorium that may be 2,000 seats without a microphone. So those larynxes come generally in large bodies. Not always, but generally speaking. So a large larynx and an extrovert personality is very helpful as well, although not everybody has one. Well, it takes a long time. It needs training for usually between 10 and 15 years. It's like being a super athlete, actually, being an opera singer, because you need to be able to sing for hours a day without tiring and come back fresh the next morning. It's very demanding, and you need everything to be connected up physically, emotionally, intellectually, musically. There's a whole lot of things you need in your basket. And the voice is one component, but it's essentially the most important thing. People come to the opera to hear beautiful, exciting, thrilling singing, and they're also very grateful if the singer can act as well. Not always. No, this is not just singing. This is training for super athleticism. Well, you're not always going to have the same person looking after you, but the problem is that when you're singing yourself, you can't listen. If you listen and judge and adjust your sound to please your own ears, you're going to get it wrong. You always need feedback from another set of ears because of the nature of the vocal machinery. We cannot have our ears back here. They ought to be out here on stalks if we could listen to ourselves while we're singing and make good judgment. We can't. We have to be fed by a very experienced pair of other ears, either a super coach or a really good teacher. Best idea. I personally think you do, but because you need to process everything through almost synthesizing what the student's doing. I think I do that instinctively. I feel what a student or a singer is doing, intuitively probably process it, and then because I'm very keen on understanding how the machinery works, very interested in the science and the craft of singing in order to get to the art of singing. So I think I'm processing all the time through my singer self, but with this other education of the science, the mechanics in a way of the voice, which I absolutely love knowing about because it enables me to cut to the chase. I can help singers in distress, but I can also help develop singers much quicker by hearing the machinery when they sing. I hear which bits are not functioning. Now, had I not been a singer myself, I don't think I'd have been able to do that. Mind you, I have to say that as a singer, I probably got every damn thing wrong and had to find out how to correct everything from inside. And so that's part of my education as a teacher. Not opera singing, certainly. I mean, if you're going to sing with a microphone or you're going to sing some styles of music, you can get away with not being fully connected physically. But nowadays, it's really interesting, neuroscience is telling us that these emotional connections have got a lot going on in the brain that we really need to understand. And sort of singing from the neck up is always going to be very tiring. I mean, the more we can engage our bodies in an athletic way, the less wear and tear there is on the vocal mechanics. I absolutely adored singing. It was a real blast for me, but I didn't really know what I was doing a lot of the time. I did it by instinct. Being a teacher is a completely different set of skills, I think. I mean, I wasn't a great singer. I sang wonderful music, wonderful repertoire, and I adored it. But I never knew what was going on really, and I lost my way a little bit in the middle. I had to find my way back, and I sort of found my way back into singing decently by teaching. You learn an enormous amount for yourself when you teach. I think that's not always fully understood either. So there's something to be said for young singers all having a few students trying themselves out. Okay, well, now you've got it. You think of Dame Edna Everage. Good day, possums, you really love being here today, don't you? Now that is her falsetto, his falsetto, Barry Humphrey's falsetto, with a lot of twang. Now the twang in the Australian accent is one of the major components of an opera singer's voice. Jo S. Still, the American researcher, really highlighted this when she did some research back in the 80s. The twang produces a different shape in the vocal tract, which sort of has a protective mechanism. It's why Dame Edna Everage never runs out of voice. You never hear her hoarse at all. And honestly, the Australians come in with this amazing twang. They've got to be absolutely certain now that they don't make the mistake that I made, because I can very well remember when I first got here in 1962, somebody said to me, "Where are you living, Janice?" And I said, "Barnes." And they said, "Where?" "Barnes, Barnes, just across the river from Hammersmith." They said, "Oh, you mean Barnes." And there we have a completely different R vowel. That R vowel has no twang. My R vowel had masses of twang. It also had space around it. Nowadays, we have got the knowledge about what that twang does and why it's absolutely crucial for opera singers to have it, because it's the squillo in the sound it's like a supercharger effect, and it rockets through the orchestra, makes them gnash their teeth. They can't drown us. It's also very, very efficient.
Fantastic.